but yeah, that's the first thing I can remember that happened to me where God saved my life. Because to be honest, there are lots of kids that actually die because of being burnt either by hot water or by fire. Um, so yeah, God saved my life, and I'm 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 not disabled. I can still walk, and in fact, I was very athletic and very strong when I was a bit younger, even when I was in the army. That's why I became a PTI, because God seems to have given me the gift of being able to withstand pain. I seem to have a very high pain threshold, but yeah, so yeah, I've been injured many times, but that was the first time, the first major injury that I had when I was growing up. So the second thing that happened was, yeah, there's another incident that happened when I can't remember how old I was, but uh, I basically I was walking in the dark next door. I've been sent next door by my mother to get something with my younger brother, and I hit my leg against a metal rod, and yeah, got quite a deep gash in my leg, which I still have right now. But yeah, in terms of major injuries, the first one is the one I mentioned where I was burnt by fire. Second major injury or incident that happened, which could have hurt me or killed me, was when we were. I was about 17 years old, and we were living in a place called Marlborough, in one of the suburbs in Harare, and my parents were actually building a house, and we're staying in Wendy houses at that time, and our neighbors also were staying in Wendy houses. So there was quite a lot of wind at that time, and uh, the my parents were not at home. They must have been at work or something. So but me and my brother, who follows me, were at home, and the lady from next door called us and said she needed some help in to put some rocks on top of the roof of one of the windy houses, because the roof was being blown by the wind and it was kind of being lifted up. So my brother and I actually climbed on top of the roof, and as we were trying to strategically place rocks on the roof, I basically step on the edge of the roof, and then because the roof was made of asbestos, um, it basically broke where I was trying to step. It broke, and then next thing I knew is that I was flying basically, but flying backwards onto my back, and I landed on my back, and I think I was unconscious for a few seconds, and then next thing I knew was that my brother came running. My brother Aaron came running with this neighbor to see if I was okay, and when they spoke to me and said, "Are you okay?" I said yes, but um, yeah, that was quite frightening. But when I told my mother what had happened, I never got any compassion anyway. But anyway, if you for those who haven't watched my testimony, I would say just go and watch my testimony if you need to understand the kind of relationship that, if I can call it that I had with my parents, um, both as a child, as an adult. But yeah, moving on to the next thing that I can remember is I'd moved out from home by this point, and the incident that made me move out was that my dad basically, I had to stop my dad from beating up my mum, and this happened whilst the neighbors were watching. This was at a different house, so that's what caused me to move out, because I was sick and tired of domestic violence and domestic abuse incidents that were happening, and at this point I was starting to get involved, so I didn't want to get involved in that, so I moved out. So when I moved out, this particular incident happened when I'd just been to visit my dad. Even though there were a lot of things that my dad did to us as a family and to me specifically that I didn't like, I still tried to visit him and stuff like that. So I was coming actually from visiting my dad and my brothers. My mom wasn't there at the time, but yeah. So my way back into the city, into Harare. I was in what are called combis here in Zimbabwe. They are like minibuses that carry. I think the highest number. There are different types of combis, but the biggest ones carry 18 passengers, and I think some of them they carry 8 to 10 or 12 passengers. So I was in one of those combis, and when I got into this minibus, I could actually smell alcohol on the driver. But when you don't have a car of your own, sometimes you're forced to travel in situations that you even know yourself could potentially be dangerous. So driving along, we're coming up to a place called Borodale, which is one of the nicest places to live in Zimbabwe, but and one of the most expensive places to live. And there was a service station coming up on our left, and the funny thing is that I could actually see, I could see what was about to happen. There was a man who was towing a boat, and he basically cut in front of us. You have to understand, in Zimbabwe we drive on the left side of the road. He was coming out from the service station from our left, and he cut in front of us to join the lane on our right side. But he had a boat as well. I don't know, perhaps he forgot he was towing a boat, but the boat didn't clear out the lane that the minibus that I was in didn't clear the lane, and the driver of the minibus that I was in noticed what was about to happen. He noticed that a bit late because, like I said, he was probably because he was drunk. So we hit the boat basically, and when I saw that we were about to hit the boat, I put my hands out in front of me. There were some seats in front of me, and actually, because of the impact and everything, I actually pulled the seats out from where they were. That was fastened to the floor of the minibus. So no one died, fortunately, but a few of us were injured and had to be taken to hospital for assessment in ambulances. And I also got taken to hospital in ambulance. And the other thing I remember is that even though I told my mum, and I think I told my dad as well, my dad never visited me, even though he was nearby. I think my mum was in the UK at the time. Yeah, so God saved me in that incident. But up to now, I have I have excuse me. I have the what do you call them? Sorry, I was trying to say, I couldn't think of the word. I was trying to say I've got scars on both my legs from where the front on my shins. My shins hit the chairs that were in front of me as well, even though I pushed the chairs and they uprooted basically. But I also got injured as well, but nothing so bad, nothing that caused me to be disabled, like what happens sometimes in accidents. Yeah, so something else I'd like to mention is that I've flown in airplanes many times. I've lost count of many times how many times I've flown. Both when I was in the army, I flew in planes, and I also flew in helicopters, which is, to be honest, I know they say that flying is one of the safest ways to travel, but I think it's quite dangerous. Bearing in mind that if something happens, you can't stop. You're going to go down, and most airplane or helicopter accidents end in death. And but the reason why I've flown so many times, I think I've flown more than any of my relatives, is that when we bought the house here in Zimbabwe, we were in the UK, as I explained in my personal testimony. So the house was a bit run down, it needed some work, so we used to fly quite often. We bought the house in 2013, and up to the year 2020, we were flying at least once a year to come and fix up the house. And some of those flights would go through Dubai. Would get off the plane, get on another plane, and then fly to Harare, which is the capital of Zimbabwe. So I flew many times, and I know there's also been many plane crashes in which thousands and thousands of human lives have been lost. But God kept me and my family. So the next thing I wanted to move on to is I was really sick in April 2020, and when I was sick, I thought I was going to die. So I was basically bedbound for about 2.5 weeks, and like I said, I actually thought I was going to die. I was in so much pain, and because when you have to understand that the hospitals here in Zimbabwe are not very good. So when I went to hospital, they didn't diagnose me properly, and I got given meds that actually caused me to have a reaction. basically ended up with spots on my all over my body and on my palms and stuff. And I had to actually stop that taking the meds. And when my wife was like, "You need to